Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're looking at GWENT. I'm going to put all the cards on the table first and foremost in case I come off as ranting a little bit too much about it. I'm looking at GWENT for the first time on my channel, even though my account says I'm level like 29. We very well will reset that. I'm looking at GWENT because I think unfairly I've been banned from Magic the Gathering Arena, and I need some kind of collectible card game to play, or at least I want some kind of collectible card game to play every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when I'm streaming, talking about video game news and looking at the new games that have come out on Steam. They apparently, despite the fact that they have a timer system that auto concedes you if you don't move fast enough, if say you fall asleep, say you have to run to the bathroom or anything like that, if you don't make an action, almost every card game will automatically concede you after a certain amount of time, and you'll just lose the game, and that seems fair enough. But apparently Magic Arena says, even though we have this system that works perfectly fine, we've decided to single out me personally and say, you've stalled games, which I don't really know what they're talking about, frankly. And I've played Hearthstone for 5 years straight. Hearthstone and Activision Blizzard never complained one bit about the way I played, and I did not change my playstyle in any way that way. Different. So, yeah, it seems like Magic the Gathering and Wizards of the Coast kind of suck. I mean, that's really all you can just put it down to. That they already had other problems. They're very obvious. Like, they're super greedy. They want you to spend about $100 every expansion minimum on cards. I regret even buying the welcome bundle on Magic Arena. I was only going to play Magic Arena until the new Marvel card game by Second Dinner and Hearthstone creator Ben Brode, or at least the guy in charge of Hearthstone, who used to be in charge of Hearthstone, Ben Brode, which that still is my goal, but we need something in the middle now. Let's go ahead and change this quest to play 30 neutral cards and then click OK. So yeah, you can see probably is not worth my time to keep this progress, since I played this on my cell phone clearly 4:14 and 4:15, and then I quickly got bored with it, and then here we back are at 7:20. I would also say that the Steam version, which is the version I'm playing right now, apparently a season ended and I got some kind of ranked rewards. The Steam version pops up a website, and you have to have Steam Overlay enabled to see the website to log into Good Old Games and use that third-party account. So that was frustrating because I don't usually have the Steam Overlay enabled. Let's see now. Pro rank regulations. That doesn't mean anything to me. Resolution scale is at 100 at 1080p. Maybe how you would prefer it a little higher. Let's see if we can turn up the graphics quality. You can go up to 4K and download specific 4K resolutions. Let's see, cosmetic, mute opponent's taunts. That's something you might want later. Audio, log out. Let's see, apply settings. Gotta reset the game to apply some settings. Alright, what I'm looking for here is a easy way to start over your progress and do the tutorial and show the tutorial. And there may not really be a way to do this. But I can tell you already, it does feel like not much is different with Gwent in its new iteration versus the original version of Gwent. Because there's Gwent in Witcher 3 that played very differently, and there was... See, I guess I would just have to make a new account. It seems like there's no real way to lose your progress. Let's see if maybe we can play a tutorial here. Yeah, we can. I think you just go through the training again. But there's some things that were slightly changed, and there's just some kind of problems, in my opinion, with the way Gwent didn't really evolve enough.
For the north!
It works fine if you were just trying to play something somewhat similar to the Gwent in Witcher 3, but you're still not even being able to play the Gwent from Witcher 3, and they kind of needed to change it up, but they don't change it up enough. Like the fact that your starting decks really only have about 6 cards, whereas most collectible card games would have 60 or more. That's about at least 20 cards in the deck instead of 10. The fact that the variety on cards are very, very limited, like to the point where we've got 2 harpy eggs here that look exactly the same, and they are pretty. They don't have the problem of Magic: The Gathering Arena's issue, in which half of the card is still being shown by overwritten by text, because that's the way the paper print versions of Magic cards are made. Here you don't need that. You can just hover over, since this is a digital only game. But then it has to stay within the Witcher world, which, even compared to Hearthstone, which is set in the World of Warcraft world, The Witcher is much more mature and dark and limited as far as the number of characters and things. They really needed to have given the Witcher license to a third-party developer and just say, you just go wild with it, you just do whatever you want in the story, and you just introduce whatever kind of ridiculousness you want to introduce. And they didn't do that. Instead, CD Projekt Red kept it for itself. Let's go ahead and redraw like this one, and let's say redraw do we have any other duplicates? This would just spawn a harpy and summon it to a row, but I don't know if that means it would spawn this specific harpy or a different harpy. It's been a while since I played. This one has no ability, so we should re-roll that one. So you kind of have your commanders on the side, which is different compared to Hearthstone or Magic Arena. But they have also special abilities, kind of like the Hearthstone abilities, but you can only use it twice. There are 2 rows in this form of Gwent, where there were 3 rows in previous. There is a front row and a back row, where in the original Gwent there was a kind of melee fighter row, a archer's row, and a trebuchet or war machines row. They got basically rid of the war machines row, and now you can mostly put characters wherever you want, whereas I think you were fairly limited in that case in the first game. This almost certainly was done to have more of an ability to port this to cell phones. There were console versions of this, but apparently they gave up supporting those. really what CD Projekt Red needs to do, I would say, is they need to decide on making something like this, but with their own IP, probably in the cyberpunk world, or make it introduced and shown in the cyberpunk game that's eventually coming out, but have it be its own standalone thing where it's just a video game inside of a video game and they can just do whatever they want with it. And ideally they, I think, should probably go more kid-friendly with it, because there is just this inherent danger of this game, a card game like this, becoming popular but then not being able to be as popular as you'd like it to be because it's not kid-friendly. See, this guy would boost an allied unit by 3 and give it shield, which might be helpful. Unlike most card games, there's really not much as far as cards that activate during a draw phase or a main phase before in the battle phase, or a main phase 2 after a battle phase, or an end phase. It all just kind of is one big battle phase, which undercomplicates, if that's a word. It makes the game a little too simplistic, and very quickly you will run into a case where you'll run into a case where the games get very samey and very repetitive. And that's why in less than 2 days I was bored with playing it. And even though there is this new expansion out right now, there have been expansions before, and they're still not interesting enough. That's not something we'd want to do. And see, they don't have attack power, they don't have defense power really. You're just playing them to have the maximum combined number in each row. And I think that's pretty much it. So I have an 8, he has a 10, that means he's gonna get 10 points. And then I have a 3, and he has a 3 in the second row, so that means we're gonna tie. And I don't even know what these little buttons do. They're not telling me anything when I hover over them. So, yep. It just wasn't a super well thought out card game. Whereas I would argue the Valve card game in its second iteration that they're working on, at least they're trying to think it out and trying to do something amazing or nice with it. But the problem, I would say, that they're going to run into is so that, yeah, that just did summon a doomed Harpy Beast token card, which the tokens don't look very different from the regular cards. You can see there's not very much action going on here. It's kind of boring.
The sun, our mighty ally it is.
I should have, instead of playing this on my cell phone first, I should have just made a spotlight, which is what I basically am now doing. Okay. But yeah, this is it's not a lot to say here. It's just so simplistic. There's no real strategy or effects that are amazing, at least at the beginning, and they don't show that there's anything that interesting. You can change the card backs. You can change the play set, the play field. You get these little lines of dialogue. The real complicated part of this is just the number, and that's the thing that can change the changes, because you play a second round with whatever cards are left. So if I was to do this, I could do 2 damage to all of these, which would reduce this to 10 plus another 5, 15, where this would be 13, so it still wouldn't win. Or I could reduce 2 here, which would be 1, 2, 3, with another 4, which would be 7, which that would be beaten by that. So I can do this, but it's the wrong move. And see, I could boost an ally by 3, but it's the wrong move. And it's really just this simplistic numbers game where you're just trying to get the numbers up, and you're just trying to get the numbers up, and the round ends when both players pass. So, like, I should just pass and let him win. And notice it made me hold on to the pass button there, because that was a smart move. So they beat me in the first round of best out of 3 games. You get one, I think 1 card? Well, apparently you get more than that. You get up to 6, apparently. So let's trade that. And trade that. Yeah, and you're just in a weird position here, since I'm not showing the tutorial. Like, I guess that is weird, but you're not really missing anything either. Like, this is the game. You have, when you start Gwent, maybe 30 cards. They all kind of seem the same. See, I'm playing right now as kind of like the demon cast, and there are 4 casts, but they mostly seem fairly similar and fairly the same in their art style. It's just the difference of whether, like, one group is a military group for one country, one group is a military group for another country. One group is the demons. There might be like an elf group or a witches group, but everything has to basically be from The Witcher 3. And while The Witcher 3 story was very good, it's been several years since that's happened, and it's not like I'm even going to remember too much from that. So this one has a consume ability, which can let it eat other cards as a harpy. And I can boost that, might as well. Must have double clicked on it. Yeah, I would say artifact is a great game to compare to this, because both of those are from very successful, although in Valve's case, Valve is kind of more successful for running Steam these days. Here it's even warning me not to do that. Probably because this will deal damage to the highest unit by 1. So yeah, Valve is very successful because of Steam, and they're trying very hard to make Artifact work. But Artifact for me will always just be too fast-paced of a experience. Like, the idea of having 3 lanes of a game and something that feels like it's inspired by Dota just doesn't really work for me. This one has a Thrive ability, which I think means every turn it gains health. So I've won the round there, but I'm about to lose because I played with basically no strategy, and they have 3 card advantages over the 1, maybe 2 cards I'm gonna have. So my best bet is to just try and trade the trade the biggest cards I can play. But I'll play 3 cards and pass, and he'll be able to play an extra 3 cards. And there's almost no chance that that would work. Yeah, it's a shame Gwent didn't succeed. What's this?
No faces, no hearts.
This is just a log. Interesting. Nice to have that built in. And a friends list with Twitter and Facebook. Let's see. Can we bring up the profile? I mean, you can see a profile, but you can't reset it. Not here, at least. So, yeah, almost guaranteed not to be able to succeed here. We've got 6 in the back row. We've got 12 here. That gives us 18. Combined, he has 11. See, this has shield. And if I pass, it doesn't work. Unlike other collectible card games, the hero has no life, so there's just no way here to get a quick victory. Although these games don't tend to be super long, it would be nice to, if there was like a 5-card combination like Yu-Gi-Oh! That just gave you an instant victory with like the Exodia cards, or if there was a standard way like in Hearthstone and Magic where you could just attack the opponent directly and deal damage to their life points. But yeah, you have to play at least 2 rounds. They tend to be pretty low. Maybe not super age appropriate, having harpies with hanging boobs, even if they are nippleless boobs. Here, there's things you can unlock to change the card backs, and I haven't gone anyway. But then also there's things like this for $6.99, which is just asking way too much. Maybe you get more than just a playfield for purchasing these, but $14.99, $6.99, and $7.99 to start with for what is a fairly boring game. And then here's the base coin skin. And that's like the only thing that seems to even be available. We probably earn more. And then you have different skins for the same bad guys or same avatars. And then here you have a monster, a vampire. I think vampires were added in the DLC. Another monster, another vampire, and then here you have another thing for $14.99. And this isn't all of them. That's just all of them, I think, with this organization. See, here you have Greenhorn card back and a basic card back, and for $14.99 you could get this sewer board card back, $2.99 for School of the Griffin card back, and a reward for something that actually looks like an actual card back. Interesting. But what's really weird here, I would say, is we're playing the monster starter deck, whereas if we look at this, then in this it's the same boards, but it's different elfish characters or magic users of some sort. A lot of these characters I don't think actually were in The Witcher 3. Maybe they were in The Witcher 2 or Witcher 1. Then you've got some different card back, a slightly different card back, but then that's it. Everything else is the same. So it's just way too many unlocks when really what you would like to see here is the cards. So how can we even get to the cards? Let's see, where are you hiding? Let's see what the barrels.
Yup. Must smash. Soup show.
So we have a shop here where I can open a barrel. Have to find the open button. And it's gonna give me 4 more cards. And then a 5th card that you can pick. Which that's an interesting loot box, but it's a loot box nonetheless. We can right click for more info at any point, which that's nice. That is a problem with both Hearthstone and Magic Arena, is that you really need to be able to bring the art and the descriptions just to the maximum full screen so you can read it. Particularly for me when I'm playing this on a TV that's like 10 feet away. So trying to read a lot of this is not helpful.
Human soup eat. Yum. Elfie soup.
And so here there's like a daily deal and a great deal for an ultimate starter pack. We just opened a card keg and we can purchase more. 2 is worth $3, so that was $1.50 worth of cards, basically, a card pack. You can buy the premium meteorite powder, which is the premium currency, to probably craft specific cards. Ornaments, there's just a ton of stuff here. Some of which you might would have wanted if the game itself could stand up to scrutiny. Unfortunately, it really doesn't. Like, all this stuff would have made way more sense if people really had a reason to play Gwent. And it's a shame that the only thing Gwent really does for me is tell me that I should probably go back and play Witcher 3, like, because that's a much better experience. The truth of the matter is that there is Witcher 3 DLC I have never played, so that would be a lot more fun. And when I was playing Witcher 3, I probably played Gwent 4 or 5 times in the version that it is actually in the game. And honestly, I think the 4 or 5 times I played it in the game was way more interesting than this. This is because you don't have this whole experience that you have to pay more for, or you have to grind for, which is not what you're really looking for. There is this Thronebreaker element, which I don't think this actually is in the DLC. And that probably is the best way an experience to do, is just to play the Thronebreaker DLC, which just is a campaign in which you're going to play Gwent against a bunch of AI. But take note how it's just hidden behind here. Meanwhile, what is this? Here's the cards. So there's a lot of green shaded cards here that I imagine means I don't have them. But I could craft them with 200 card pieces, which look like torn up cards. So, ownership owned. All new owned. All. Well, apparently I do own these cards, I just maybe have never played them. So, let's see. Faction all. Crafting cost all. Card type all. Ownership all. This should be the full collection of cards. And I wonder what Gwent deck library does different if this is the thing we're looking at. There's really not a lot of cards here from the looks of it, right? All. Apparently there's premium versions of cards too that are just like foil versions. Maybe you need to go to Gwent deck library. Nope, that just brought me to a website. So that doesn't work. But this really isn't a lot of cards, I would say, considering how Gwent has been going for 2 or 3 years now, and it just really failed to gain momentum. Now, in all fairness, before Hearthstone came out, I would argue Yu-Gi-Oh! Was probably a far distant second to just playing paper Magic, and Magic Arena just took forever to come out, and the Magic card games before Magic Arena had real problems with them, so there was problems with that also, in the idea that you didn't want to you didn't want to play the Duels of the Planewalkers games because they were these quickly abandoned single player games not made directly by Wizards of the Coast. I don't know if that was a good move for them to bring it in-house, because it's not like they did a great job by bringing it in-house. If anything, they've really dropped the ball. But yeah, it doesn't look like these are much different cards. And it's sadly just not a really good way to scroll through cards. This is probably the best way to scroll through cards. So if I was to say, come over here, faction all, Crafting cost, art, card type all, ownership all on that. And then if I was to right click that, this would be the way, I guess, to go through the full view. You can see that this premium version has motion, where the non-premium version doesn't have motion, and that's visually the only thing that looks different, and the differences don't stand out that much. I would definitely applaud GWENT cards for not having a ton of text or numbers on them, but they kind of fall apart if you were to ever try to print a real-world set of the GWENT cards because of that. You still just run into the problem where the art style is still that high fantasy, Tolkien-esque, Lord of the Rings, Hobbit type fantasy world, and it doesn't really go anywhere different from that, unfortunately. So it just comes off fairly boring, again, and you've heard me say that word several times, which is not a word you want to ever have someone say out loud about your game, but it's very much the case, is that the core gameplay mechanic here is just not good. I would frankly be more interested in playing just poker, you know, Texas Hold'em with cards that look like GWENT cards and be done with it, instead of playing GWENT. Whereas Hearthstone and Magic both managed to have very interesting cards and a lot of cards and a lot of history now for both of those games that kept people interested in that. Even like Siri here, so many years into it, my love of Siri that I once had when playing the game is nowhere as high as it is nowadays. And I recently watched a Netflix series based on the Witcher series, and that was a fine show. It definitely had a few problems, but it didn't rejuvenate a love. So it'll be really interesting to see if they can make a Witcher 4. I have no idea what they would make a Witcher 4 around, though. Here you have enslaved, captured kids by a giant monster. That's definitely not going to be age appropriate for all ages. Because, yeah, The Witcher 4 basically would have to either reset the story, reboot, or have a completely different Witcher, so you're not following Geralt of Rivia. Here's the Master Mirror, who is the new character, one of the new characters from the new DLC, and this veil ability, I imagine, is new. But even though he was on the loading screen for the new DLC, he's not that interesting. Yeah, I don't know what you do with the Witcher series without getting rid of all the characters and just setting the timeline 100 years in the future, to the point where Yennefer maybe is still alive because she's a powerful witch, but she's very old. Geralt of Rivia is probably dead of old age. Ciri probably wouldn't be in the picture. The Wild Hunt in general, which was the main threat, I think, in all of the Witcher stories, are kind of out the window. I don't think there are any more Witcher books to even be set in the universe, so yeah, I really have no idea what they could do, but they kind of have to do something, otherwise it's their investment and their great success in the Witcher series falls apart. They need some kind of fantasy game to bounce off with the Cyberpunk game. They can't just make a trilogy of Cyberpunk games and hope those succeed. Even if they do succeed amazingly well, that's still not going to be good enough for fantasy fans. So maybe they could set everything up in such a way that that they started a new fantasy series inspired by that, but the name brand recognition would be just too tempting to not call the Witcher series. And you can't really move the Witcher universe too far into the future, otherwise they'll start developing like modern technology, which would be a problem. You could set it far in the past, but that'll be only interesting for one game or so. If it was like 400 or 500 years. There is the thought that the Wild Hunt is from a different universe, and that a lot of the creatures in the Witcher universe are from different universes. So you could transfer yourself and transfer the story to a different universe, but it really won't matter. And then the major danger, certainly for CD Projekt Red, is that if they don't get a Witcher game out fairly quickly, there is always that chance that Bethesda might actually get their next Elder Scrolls game out. And if there is a super successful sequel to Skyrim that comes out and it actually gets people to play that successor, that Elder Scrolls game, for a decade or two, in the same way that Skyrim has convinced a lot of people to play Skyrim for a decade or two, or a lot of people, including myself, have maybe not consistently played Skyrim for a decade or two, but we have played it once, and then 3 or 4 or 5 years later we played it again, and then 3 or 4 or 5 years later we played it again. So there is that danger that the next Elder Scrolls game would just suck all the oxygen out of the room for fantasy games, and that could be a big problem. There is also a similar issue. A lot of these images are like either very spooky or slightly lewd. More than I thought. And I knew the main game was like that too. I had to do quite a lot of editing, although maybe YouTube really wouldn't have cared at all. They kind of changed the rules on that stuff. I had to do quite a bit of editing when trying to get The Witcher 3's gameplay to actually be presentable on YouTube. Frankly, more than I had to do when I was playing Honey Pop, which is a straight up adult game full of, well, not full, but that definitely has full on sex scenes and nudity in it. But yeah, there is also the Lord of the Rings that is always that third tier as far as fantasy games. At any point there could be another Shadow of Mordor game that actually gets people willing and have hype to play it again, or there could be just another Lord of the Rings game in general out there that catches people's attention. I've been noticing this ability, which this must be new, where it has like an 8 health or 8 rations, but only has 1 attack. So they slowly in expansions did start adding characters that seem to have an attack and a health, but it took them several expansions to even get to that point. Frankly, it just feels like CD Projekt Red was trying really, really hard to do something that was completely different from Magic, and you just can't really do anything that's that completely different from Magic unless you're willing to roll the dice, and if you roll the dice you're probably going to lose, because Magic is just so familiar, and the concepts of characters from Dungeons and Dragons or onward have always had a health, a toughness, and an attack. There's no way to get around that. like almost every free-to-play game, the characters have a health and attack. It's something that's familiar. It's something people know. Well, I didn't make it all the way to the end. I don't know how far we did make it. By the looks of it, we made it halfway through all the cards. So, not a terrible amount of cards by any means, but just kind of a terribly slow game. Let's see. And they start you with these 6 starter decks, and then you're supposed to figure out how to play from that. I don't even know what Power Shift is. It's a seasonal event. Okay. See, from here you can see the deck builder, and you can see an arena that's not open until level 10, which apparently I'm only level 4. But let's sneak our way back into the shop to get to Thronebreaker. I feel like Thronebreaker at some point was also a paid expansion. It is $19.99 on Steam, and then a $10.99 soundtrack. So, yeah, just an incredibly greedy game, frankly. If anything, it's more greedy than even Magic the Gathering Arena, and that's a problem, definitely. Let's play one real person, and then that's going to be it for the spotlight. Apologies for not going through the initial tutorial, but there really isn't a lot to say here. There are abilities we have not talked about in the cards, and maybe a little bit of strategies, but I would once again just say the core is not interesting enough to keep you playing, to develop those strategies, or be that interested. So, get rid of the 1 card, and let's see. Get rid of the consume card, I guess. Might be better not to replace some cards, actually. So I have a card here, start with, which is Tactical Advantage. Boost an allied unit by 5, then banish yourself. That wasn't in the game before. So you can have like a starting card, you can have a hero ability, but you still are just playing this numbers game, which is at its core just bad. They needed to give up this idea, frankly, and just embrace the standard card game that's just more familiar. The thing that you would see in Magic, the thing you would see in Yu-Gi-Oh!, the thing that I think you even see in Pokemon, the collectible card game. Unfortunately, there is no Pokemon for PC, so I won't be covering that one. But you would want just a standard front row where monsters go, and maybe some secret trap spells in the back. This kind of does have that. There's the timer, by the way. So, like every other card game, Witcher has a timer that if you don't take an action, you'll eventually concede or pass your turn or concede the entire game. So, Magic saying I'm stalling games is ridiculous because there's no way to do that, not without some cheater app that I'm not using. The closest thing I even have is ad blocking, so I wonder if that's their problem. Is that, oh, we can't shove as many ads into the face of this person as we'd like. But I don't even think my ad blocker was ever blocking any of the magic ads in their app. I wouldn't be surprised if they come back up in a day or two and say that it was all a mistake on their part, but it doesn't really even matter at that point because they've proven themselves so incompetent on other things on top of this that you just can't, as a video game content creator, I can't put my hands and the fate of my entire channel in the hands of incompetent people that would ban an account. And you've probably seen this and heard this from other streamers, more popular streamers than me, almost certainly, that if they get banned, even if they were doing something slightly questionable, it just ruins their schedule and makes it impossible for them to do their jobs. So... let's see. So yeah, there's no way that you can tolerate something like that. I really don't get why you can click on these little melee and archery symbols and highlight them like that when, I mean, I guess that makes them stand out, but that's about it.
For this most beautiful of maidens, I shall fight 100 duels!
Now, I would say, if I was going to make Gwent, I probably would choose to I probably would choose to be fairly similar to like Yu-Gi-Oh! And not have a mana or energy needed to summon any of these characters. Each of these right now, as they play, don't require any energy. You just play one card per turn. That helps speed up the game. It stops the main problem with Magic that's always been the main problem with Magic, when you were just out of mana and couldn't do anything. Let's see. I keep wasting cards, but I'm not far enough ahead to be certain that I'll win. Because I could pass and make no move, and
Tell me the jest.
that might work, but he could play 3 or 4 cards to get it higher. Alright, let's try this. That gets it down to 23. That probably at that point will make him either give up or play really, really hard. I don't want to play any more cards. It often is worth it to just give up on that first round. Alright, well, I think this would stay on the field. An ability triggered manually by the player, and then it banishes itself. So, give something 5. And then do that, I guess. I guess you have to play a card. I would applaud the music. It's nice and calm. It's not gonna get me overhyped and raise my blood pressure or anything like that. But yeah, this is still really slow and boring. Just could never get into this. And honestly, if you were trying to sell me on a collectible card game where it was just super fast paced, I'd almost want something like Uno Rush, where you would organize all of your cards in a row and they would just play automatically if they could. Or I would want something where it's like you have 5 minutes and just play. As a card game that I would try to play while I'm talking about video game news, a super fast-paced game probably wouldn't really work too well. Yeah, that was a waste. See, all he has to do is pass and he'll win. So, like, I just played all of my cards for that round. And I should have given up fairly quickly. It's... See, apparently this person's taking his sweet time and he's about to get disconnected. But you know, I wouldn't immediately blame somebody for that too. That may just be their internet. It's not like people aren't having internet problems all the time. My internet's particularly fine, but heck, when I'm streaming, yeah, all that upload speed goes away. So maybe that's what Magic Arena was complaining about, is that, oh, you can't actually be a streamer and play our game because your internet's not fast enough for us. It would be so much different if the game popped up some kind of internal warning instead of the first thing I get is a support ticket that I did not open, emailed to my account saying, we opened this support ticket, and then I read the support ticket and it's like, we've banned your account and this support ticket has been made on your behalf. And I'm like, oh, well then F you too. I mean, what can you really say about that?
Don't move, look. Maybe I'll spare you.
I mean, I will say, as someone who's had to deal with customer service as much as pretty much any other adult, let me tell you, people need to be treated with kids' gloves if you want to retain them as a customer, even if you feel like you're in the right. Because I guarantee you the customer is not going to see it that way.
This harvest will be reaping black-clad heads.
And we play our last card.
Space, all of them.
And then we can use our ability again. That gives us 20. They have 26. They've won. It really isn't a great example this game is as far as daily quests. Okay, I even just got an achievement. I will say that by logging into this game on Steam, I've gotten a couple of achievements. And you can do this little GG. Where's the GG? Here it is. There it is for good game. That's a nice feature. But yeah, it's just not worth the effort to try and go through the ranked and get all this experience and do all these daily quests. Like, this daily quest is win 24 rounds. You just saw me spend 20 minutes trying to play, and I literally did not win, I think, 1 round. Well, I guess it does make sense why the Thronebreaker thing, a single player element, is where it is. Let's see. I was wondering if I could see maybe my rank. Am I here somewhere? In the middle of this? At rank 7,000? I would think that would be unbelievable even in that. Yeah, I don't know why it's showing me the 7,000th rank when I'm not there. I probably am just not ranked at all. Support your favorite faction, complete tasks, and fight for unique prizes as part of the Gaunter's Ultimate Challenge. Feels like there should be more here and more around here in general. So yeah, ignoring my whining about being banned from Magic Arena, this is the well, I guess I technically was suspended, but I'm never going to go back and play it at this rate. This game is just boring. Sorry. It really is. It's just not a replacement. I don't think it has the player base. It definitely doesn't have the variety. It definitely doesn't have the movement around there. And that's not to say that I couldn't find some kind of niche collectible card game somewhere that is worth playing and that might have a cult fan base. But I just don't think GWENT is the right one. So that's going to be it for this spotlight. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.